Right? And thank goodness I got a vehicle to live in. Yes, sir. And he was very aggressively panhandling her. And, anywhere I've ever been, somebody would have called the cops on him. Yeah, this really bugs me, and it also made me feel real bad for the lady, and also the way he was pushing it real heavy. I did actually feel for her safety. So I slowed down until I knew that she was past his position and had walked ahead of me so that I was in between her and the guy because she was, trying to go into the store. And so when she was walking past, I said, "I'm sorry about that guy. He's aggressive panhandling. That's just not cool." She looked at me and she said, "Oh, that's my husband." He was just razzing her. But also, when you just razz somebody like that, there's probably about 5 to 10 people that were standing there that were listening to this guy aggressively panhandler. And I don't know how many of those people that were standing around were aware that that was her husband and he was just razzing her. But it really just, to most of those people that don't know that those two folks are married, they might assume that there's some panhandler out here at Fred Meyer's being a jerk to people and trying to aggressively panhandle, not realizing it's a joke. Like I didn't realize it was just a joke. And that does affect public opinion. Meanwhile, the guy's not even homeless. He's not even panhandling, he's just playing around, but in a very serious and mean tone. Well, in that very serious and mean tone, how are people supposed to know whether or not you're kidding? Whether or not you're joking? How are they supposed to know that's your wife? It's a good question. Anyway, so I let her know, and of course she was literally right before I turned this thing back on. It probably creeped her out a bit that I was talking to her. And of course, as soon as she realized why I was talking to her, she did set it straight. I'm sure that she didn't want her husband getting arrested for aggressively panhandling her. Her explaining to me that it's a joke, that he was her husband and he was just doing that to razz her. That did help to de-escalate it for me because, well, I don't feel like I have to walk with her, and I don't feel like I have to record the situation, and I don't feel like I should have been calling the cops the whole time. A lot of times when I tell people about the crimes that were literally just committed against me, because I need to turn them in, and I need help turning it in, what I get is people who want to compare stories. They want to tell me about something that happened 10 years ago, and they want to go all long-winded on that story. And then they want to go, "See, Sean, I tried to help you." No, you didn't. You talked over me. You have no idea what's going on. You didn't help me to turn it in. Even when I explained to you, I need someone to help me to turn it in. I can't do it alone. You want to pretend like I'm talking out my backside. Now, there's some people, as I was walking by, they might not have known who it was that was aggressively panhandling. They might have just heard the voice and seen me and him and her and just assumed that because I got a scraggly beard, I'm the one that's doing it. That could turn into a complicated issue too. Especially with the media trying to paint every homeless person as an addict who's out to rape your kids. Especially when the police are going out of their way to ignore any and all crimes against homeless people and to blame homeless for every and all crime that's committed. And of course to cover up for the crimes of officers against the homeless and the disabled. Every cop in America is your enemy. And every single person who sticks up for the cops today is shooting themselves in the foot, stating that they think it is perfectly okay for police officers to be allowed to hurt, maim, or kill anybody that they want because their job is tough. Well, there's lots of people with tough jobs that don't go running around murdering people. Plenty of them. There are lots of people with tough jobs that don't pull out a 9mm and blow somebody's brains out. There are plenty of people who have far more dangerous jobs than a police officer who do not get free rein to carry around a gun and murder whoever the hell they please based on income. And it is based on income. It's based on assumed income. Nobody cares about poor people. Poor people can't hire a real lawyer, and public pretenders don't even give a fuck enough to pretend to be your public pretender anymore. God bless America. Anyway. Go ahead and see. I'm sure I got 50 cents. I'm sure there's something that I can purchase for 50 cents. There's another one of those sweet things. Oh, no. I know that no matter what, if I go to my family because I'm being abused, all they're going to do is take advantage of me. 100% of it. That's just what they do. If I have any money whatsoever, they'll pretend to care until my money is gone. The more they can talk me out of it, the better.
I was going to say, he's also open over here on 5. There's nobody in line. He's just, because he had no customers, he hopped over to that bag. So, he'll be over in just a second. I'll let him know.
The line is a little bit too long for me to stand in. Moving a little bit too slow, so I'm going to go across the street and yeah, park over there, I guess. Ain't no reason for me to stick around here. I mean, there is, but I know the longer I'm here, the more likely it is that I'll be harassed for being here. The managers here are insulted by the fact that I exist, so I gotta make sure I don't exist here as much as possible. Rob was pretty nice about it. That other fella, I can't remember his name, so I'm hoping that Candace Edwards lady has it recorded like she said she does. And she told me a lot of the right things to do, things that I already knew. That's the problem. I don't have help doing those things. I don't have assistance doing those things. If I'm not able to do something because of my disabilities, that doesn't mean argue with me over it or treat me like shit because I'm incapable of doing something. That doesn't mean that I'm not fucking trying. When I say I need somebody else to do it with me, there is a fucking reason. When you are called mentally ill, nobody is going to fucking listen to you. And that's the problem with many of these people who felt bad for me and claimed they wanted to help, but they still couldn't fucking listen. Even if I say the same thing 100 times, literally 100 times to them, they still don't hear it. When I explain to them, or at least try to explain to them about my disabilities, it's me being talked over like I'm a fucking retard. Imagine if every time Jeff tried to explain how difficult it is to get into the courthouse and and how it's going to affect him if he doesn't make it to court. If all they do is say you're making excuses, and they give you suggestions of 400 places to call, and of course they expect you to call those 400 places. You only have time to call 399 of them before court, and all of them say, well, don't you have a friend or family member that can help? Yes, I do have a friend or family member who can help, but they don't care, so they won't. That's the thing. Just because you tell me, hey, why don't you ask Dallas Richmond? Why don't you ask Dallas Richmond to help you? You live with Dallas Richmond. You pay him rent. You're in his house. Dallas needs money. Dallas is complaining to other people in town about how he needs money. He always needs money. He's having to borrow money from his parents. Do you think Dallas Richmond wants to borrow money from his parents? No, he doesn't want to fucking do that. Come on, Sean. Why don't you offer Dallas some money? If you offer Dallas some money, I'm sure he'd help you. No! You assuming that Dallas Richmond gave a fuck shows that you weren't there for the situation. You're passing judgment. You're assuming it's someone else's job, someone else's duty, or that any of these people actually give a fuck. Or, of course, there's the, if you pay them, Sean, if you pay them, why do I have no money? Because if I don't spend my money where you want me to, then you will victimize me and tell me that it's all my fault. But if I spend all of that money, and you promise that you'll help me if I spend all that money on what you want me to, when all of that money is gone, you pretend that I never did anything for you, that I am ungrateful. What the hell? And all of America is like this. You take advantage of whoever's easiest to take it out on. You're pissed off at the police because they pulled you over for something that you actually did. And you go and you take it out on homeless people. And then you think that homeless people owe it to you to shut up. That homeless people who are victimized just for existing, homeless people who are victimized because of what? Because of your assumptions. When they don't bust you for the crime that you committed, they still want to bust somebody so they can tell the public, oh, we have a 98% conviction rate. 98% of the time we catch our guy. They don't explain to you that 94% of the time that it's a homeless person that they end up just pegging for it. You don't need any fucking evidence. It's a goddamn hobo. Nobody gives a fuck. The public pretender doesn't have to fucking follow the law because nobody gives a fuck. The prosecutor doesn't have to follow the law because nobody gives a fuck. The judge knows that nobody gives a fuck. This is his goddamn bread and butter. Yeah, you got a fucking drug dealer comes through your courtroom. You got to stand on fucking eggshells and mind your P's and Q's because one slip up, that guy's got the money to buy himself out and also possibly even destroy you as a judge. Because, well, let's face it, Americans don't care about anybody that can't pay Americans to care. It doesn't matter if it's your own fucking mother. If you're out on the goddamn streets, she ain't your friend. If you're out on the streets, she don't actually care about you. Or, of course, she out on the streets too, and she's more mental than you. 4 o'clock, nice. Just because you want to be an asshole doesn't make another person guilty. Just because you want to assume the worst in somebody else doesn't make them guilty. Just because you hate men doesn't make it okay to go destroy the life of an innocent man or destroy evidence that he's fucking innocent. That is the most fucked up thing. How many people were allowed to harm me? How many people were allowed to destroy evidence? How many people worked together to do these things blatantly and openly and bragged about it, and literally not one of my friends fucking cares to even look? Because they're all pieces of shit and fucking cowards. Not one of the people at the Starbucks in Boulder, Colorado, after years of my service to them, protecting them and keeping them safe, not one of them bothered to try taking the time to listen to what was going on. You got to hear the conversation with Tony DeStassi. He said, "You called me for advice." No, the fuck I didn't. I didn't call you for advice, asshole. I called you to verify the situation. The situation with Danny and finding him dead. And how much difference there was between when we found him dead at 10 o'clock in the morning and when they got the first call that he was back there not breathing and unresponsive. They told me that they got a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, somewhere around there. They told the media that the phone call was around 6 o'clock. Now, I found Daniel Kitlitz dead in Boulder, Colorado at 10 a.m. when I went out for a cigarette. I was able to see the back of his head, and I was able to see his ear. And the discoloration of his ear was enough to let me know that he was dead. That's because I've seen a lot of dead people. When you are homeless, you see a lot of dead people. A lot of people freeze to death. You know, it's just as illegal for a schizophrenic person who is delusional to use a blanket as a homeless person as it is for, of course, myself. However, mentally, somebody who is schizophrenic and or delusional is not likely to be mentally prepared for such a thing. They don't want to get in trouble. They throw away their blanket. They freeze to death. Just one more murder of one more hobo, and it is murder. It's called murder by exposure. It's illegal for him to use that blanket. He is an at-risk adult who is trying not to get into trouble just for existing. We got to see what happened with Benjamin Harvey, don't we? What happened with Benjamin Harvey? Well, he didn't want to use a blanket. He didn't want to use a blanket because he knew it was expensive. He knew that one of the charges is urban camping and that the other charge is trespassing, which is a crime of dishonesty and can prevent you from getting a job handling money for up to 7 years. Did you know that? Do you care? Do you care that our very first charge for most of us who are homeless was a camping ticket? Because we had to sleep. Because we didn't want to freeze to death. You can't sleep at night in Boulder, Colorado. You have to sleep during the day because at nighttime it's urban camping. So, of course, you sleep during the day and people say, hey, you know, if you didn't sleep all fucking day, you could go to those fucking services that you're bitching about. You say that you can't go to them during the day. Why not? Well, because I have to sleep sometime. I have to eventually sleep. Everybody has to fucking sleep. Everyone. It's not a goddamn decision. It's not a choice. Oh, well, you chose to sleep there. There's nowhere else to sleep. Oh, well, you could have slept under that bridge. I see people sleeping under that bridge all the time. That's right. That's right. You do see people sleeping under that bridge. You assume that it's legal because they're doing it? No, you're the same asshole who calls in every morning fucking complaining. And you even call into the radio station and say, oh, them goddamn hobos under that fucking bridge every goddamn day. Why aren't they doing something about them? Why aren't they locking them fucking freeloaders up? Meanwhile, one thing that you ain't noticing is that they lock them up all the fucking time. And they get money for it. And then they drop them right back off for you to bitch about again. No, the government isn't gonna fucking help them out. No, their families don't give a fuck. No, you victimizing them even more on top of it and pretending that they might be fucking horrible people, might be, as an excuse to send people to do horrible shit to them. What a fucked up bunch of goddamn tit. Ugh. So many words all at once, and every goddamn one of them an insult. Then we got these Republicans, right? You always want to blame the Republicans. Well, yeah, most of these assholes are Republicans in Republican states. But it's not a Republican way of thinking. It's each individual's choice whether or not they want to reciprocate it. Do you want to listen to your party boss? Or do you want to make your own decisions? Do you want to just believe what you're told, or do you want to educate yourself? Do you want to hate who you're told to hate? And then there's all these people who want to talk about how woke they is. How woke is you really if you're blaming everything on white people, even if it's a black man that harms you? How woke is you if you're looking away to these crimes happening to white people because white people deserve it, in your personal opinion? Well, that's pretty screwed up, ain't it? There's a lot of things that people have said that I've said myself. But it should be obvious to any of you fucking morons that it's satire. You know, I listen to these goddamn rednecks talking about how all these black people need to have this and need to have that, and all these hobos need this and need that, and all these immigrants need this and need that, and they was talking about what? Violence and killing and destruction and harmful, horrible things in the name of the Second Amendment, Jesus Christ. Why is it the people seem to think that Rambo Jesus is the Second Amendment? Why is it they seem to believe that, well, if you say in the name of Jesus, it makes violence okay, it makes killing okay. You say, God wills it. Just so you know, during the Crusades, we got that Saladin feller, the savior of Muslims. He wasn't even a Muslim. How many of you know that? But his battle cry, God wills it. That was the same battle cry as the Christians who went in there to dominate and murder them all. God wills it. To this day, Christians, even with separation of church and state, instead of focusing on the law, they want to talk about God. God. Separation of church and state. When it benefits you, you want to push that separation of church and state. When it doesn't benefit you, you want to push the God, don't you? You want to push the Jesus. God wills it. God wills it. I keep waiting on an atheist to start pushing that. There's 3 videos that I'm going to make private from today. Like I said, I don't destroy evidence. But there is a video here that I feel needs to be at the forefront of my page. There's a bunch of stuff I don't know how to do, and because of safety issues, I'm not able to do a lot of this stuff anyway. If I go to the Starbucks at Fred Meyer and I buy coffee all throughout the day, the chances of a manager being insulted by the fact that I exist there and going to come out and tell me that I can't hang out there, well, I'm not hanging out. I'm being a customer and I'm doing work, just like lots of people who go in there and sit down next to me and open up their computers and sit there all day long, including those 3 racist retired cops who sit there next to me for hours on end talking about every manner of racist crap. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind, not even if they're homeless. Sorry about that.